All right, y'all, welcome back. Happy Tuesday. Today, we're going to be breaking down Tennessee's depth chart and our roster for 2025. Y'all, we are very talented. Y'all can see the depth chart as I have it at this point, but we're also going to be breaking down our roster with the blue chip caliber players, so on and so forth, just to show you how talented Tennessee actually is and where all that talent's at. And I also want to talk about some scheme changes, which we've talked about several times. But there is a clip that's been circulating around on social media of Tennessee's offense. And some people are breaking down what Tennessee likes to do, but they don't really understand what Tennessee's doing. So I want to show you what was actually wrong with that clip and why we should feel very optimistic about this team, not just from a talent standpoint, but also from a scheme standpoint in 2025. But y'all, as always, please do us a favor, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And starting off with this depth chart, this is how I think things will look versus Syracuse. Okay, it is subject to change. And it's really just kind of like me guessing, almost spitballing. We don't know who the real starters will be outside of Joey Aguilar because he was already named the starter. I think that Merck's going to be the backup just for this time being. But I could see maybe like a month down the line, GMAC maybe stepping up to be that second string guy. Looking at Tennessee's running backs, man, look, we have a stable. I think that Bishop probably goes out there for the first series, maybe Peyton Lewis in the second, but it could be either one. Doesn't really matter. They're both very good. Start times, we've heard some great things about him too. Will Coach Sims rotate those guys more than he did last season? I think that that's necessary just because these guys will get worn down by the time that we get to the playoffs if he doesn't. And then we have two very talented freshmen that I think will get some opportunities as well. And then looking at our tight ends, I think that Miles Kitselman obviously will be going out there first, but we'll probably be running a lot more 12 personnel, especially in our first few games. So him with Ethan Davis, but also mixing in some Brame and also Jack. I think that they're going to get to play as well. So very talented room. And also Cole, he's kind of coming off of an injury, so he's got to get himself probably back into more like playing shape. But yeah, we've got plenty of options. And in that room, I would actually say that running back, tight end, that's the deepest that those rooms have been since Coach Heupel's been here. And then wide receivers. So wide receiver 1, 2, and 3, it's not, hey, this is the first option, second option, third option. It's just number 1 and number 2, those are like outside guys. And then number 3 is going to be the slot. So I do have Mike, Brazel, and Staley being our starters. But we don't know, is Brazel and Staley going to be able to go in our opener? So if they're not, then for Brazel, I've got maybe Travis Smith getting the start there, or it could also be Ra, and then with Braylon Staley, it sounds like it could actually be Dotson that would get the start there. But, Jefferson sounds like he's been playing better, and then we'll see what happens with Boo. I would love if this team would say, hey, you know what, Boo's either going to be part of this team or he's not. If he's part of the team, then we've got to, if we feel like he can help us out somewhere, we've got to like let him start to get those reps. To me, it doesn't really make too much sense for us to kind of, play both sides of the fence from that standpoint. But we will see what Coach Heupel wants to do. Now with the offensive line, y'all already know who the starters are going to be. Outside of center, I'm thinking Sam Pendleton's going to be the first guy that gets to go out there. And Coach Heupel spoke earlier today. He said that both of those guys will have to play, so Sam and Sat. And I wouldn't be overly shocked if, maybe they kind of like split time in this game. And some people might say, well, if you have two centers, then you have none. I would say maybe it's kind of a positive situation and we have two guys that we trust. Tennessee hasn't had that since Coach Heupel's been here. So that is, I think a very, very positive thing. But that offensive line, I think that it's deep. I think that it's very talented. And, we're just pretty much in almost every single spot deeper than we have been. Maybe outside of wide receiver, which you can make an argument there. It's just really young and it's not that many players. Quarterback, I don't know if you can make the argument that we're deeper there because obviously, man, back in 21 and 22, shoot, man, we had Hendon and we had Milton. That's about as deep as it gets. And then shoot, after that in 23, we had Milton and we had Nico. So yeah, that room's been more talented, I think. But I also feel like it's going to be perfectly fine. So defense, man, strong side ends. I think that's the deepest room on this whole team. We got some studs there. I think that Don Bailey does get the start. We're going to try to put a video out maybe at some point this week breaking down, can he maybe slide inside and play some tackle for us? How would that look just with the snap, so on and so forth? But yeah, I love Tyree West. I love all those guys, man. We are super duper loaded. Marion Dow, you don't see him here, but he's going to get to play. He's going to be a problem. He's just a freshman. He's a daggum first-round draft pick. I can almost guarantee you that. And then looking at tackles, right? Bryson Easton with Jackson Moore starting. I think that David Hobbs, obviously, him being in red because he's not going to play in this first game. I'm hoping that he's back within maybe 3 to 4 weeks. But while he's gone, Nathan Robinson, he's going to have to stay healthy because he definitely has to be that third guy. And then you've got Campbell. You've got several young players there. I'm not quite sure how like the third string part of it looks. But yeah, I think that some people will have to step up. They're going to have to grow up. But I think that we have the talent to get that done. Leo, super duper deep, right? Joshua Josephs, Caleb Herring, Jordan Ross. I mean, just loaded, y'all. And you are about to see just how deep we are, especially up front. In just a second, Mike, I've got Jeremiah Thielander. Will, I've got AC. And then I have Edwin Spillman backing up at Mike. And then I've got Jordan Burns backing up at Will. And then we've got those young guys. We've got just several. I mean, that linebacker room is, whew, boy, it is talented. And then cornerbacks, right? I think Colton Hood, he's going to be getting the start with Ricky Gibson. I think Tyler Redmond, he's going to be number 3. Also with Tyler Redmond, I've heard some just incredible things about him so far, throughout fall camp, so on and so forth. I think that if Tennessee does need more depth at star or at safety, he could maybe be one of those guys. Now, because he is just a freshman, I'm not sure if the staff would want to do that to him. But I just feel like he's a kid that's really smart. Like, I can tell you that personally. Very smart kid on and off the field, so he could step up from that standpoint. But, then I think that J-Mac's going to be getting the start at star. Same thing that we said about Boo. If he's part of the team, let him be part of the team. I'm hoping that he gets to play versus Syracuse, not just on special teams, but like whenever it really counts. If the staff feels like he's a good option there, right? So outside of that, looking at safety, I think that Edris Farouk is going to be getting the start next to Andre Turntime with Caleb Beasley rotating in pretty frequently. Free safety, strong safety. I just put that in there just to kind of separate those two. But in our system, it's the same thing. And maybe we could see Sidney Walton be the 4th guy. I feel like we're just going to try to rotate 3 as much as possible. But if we need some more depth there, like I said, Tyler Redmond or maybe one of the other veterans, they could come over and help us out at safety. That room is still very light. Now, this is Tennessee's entire roster breakdown. You can see the offense is up top, defense is down bottom. And man, we are loaded. Okay. This is the most talented roster that Coach Heupel has had. And I did get these numbers from 24/7 Sports. At some point, hopefully this week, I'm actually shooting for Friday, unless it happens earlier. But I want to go through, talk about Tennessee's schedule, like game by game. I've been waiting on 24/7 Sports to drop their 2025 updated like team talent roster thing, whatever, which we will look at for 2024 in just a second. But this is how I think that it will look based off of 24/7 Sports ratings and rankings and so on and so forth. But we have a total, y'all, of 50 blue chip caliber players, 7 5-stars, 43 4-stars, 62.5% blue chip ratio if you're only counting the players with ratings. Okay, so basically like scholarship players. And actually, I think that some of those 3-star guys might not be scholarship players. So either way, look at the trenches, y'all. Look at the offensive line. Look at the D line. Just deep, just loaded. The talent is there. And then just the defense really from top to bottom. Super duper deep, super duper loaded. And I am very much looking forward to what we're going to do. Now, let me show y'all how much different this this roster looks just from like a talent standpoint versus what it was last year. So this is what I was talking about. This is the 24/7 Sports like team roster rankings and all of that. This is from 2024. So let's scroll on down and see where Tennessee ranks at. Okay, so we're right here at number 17. I'll scroll up just a little bit more so that y'all can see more teams. But we're at number 17 with a total of 41 blue chip caliber players. Okay, again, for 2024. So we had 4 guys that were 5 stars and 37 that were 4 stars. Obviously, we've taken that step forward. Now, if you scroll back up, look at all the teams that we beat that was ranked higher than us. Okay, they had a better roster than us on paper. So Florida, that's a team that Tennessee beat. Of course, we beat them at home. Doesn't matter. Oklahoma, we went there and beat them. They had a top 10 roster. And then, of course, Alabama, who had the number 1 roster in the whole country based off of 24/7 Sports last season. We beat them at home. Now, can we do the same thing on the road with those 2 teams? We'll see. But I think that with that talent gap starting to close up, because Tennessee's roster should be top 10 on this list for 2025. Could even be maybe like top 8, which would be huge. I think that we can definitely get it done. Just take care of the daggone football. Even Georgia, that's a team, hey, man, in Athens, in a must-win situation for UGA. We went down there. We went, toe-to-toe for the first half, which, of course, that's nothing to really brag about. But I'm just saying that we had way less talent than what they had. And them having to come up to Rocky Top this season, I feel great about our chances to be able to get that one done. And then we already know what happened with those Buckeyes, and we are about to jump inside the film room and take a look at one of those clips. But I feel like, man, Tennessee fans should look at this type of stuff and say, man, like we are in a really good spot from a talent standpoint. The most talented roster that Coach Heupel has had, and his staff has done a lot more with less. Obviously, we made it to the college football playoffs last season with the roster that was outside of the top 15. Okay, we're about to jump up to the top 10. So I think that the sky is the limit from that standpoint. Now, let's talk about some scheme changes. Okay, so this is the clip that most of y'all probably seen kind of circulating around on various different social media platforms, so on and so forth. Y'all can see the down and distance and all that good stuff. All right, so I want to tell y'all how Tennessee's passing offense actually works. Okay, so we have we have what's called choice routes. Okay, this is not a pro style system. So all the things that you typically hear about quarterbacks standing inside of the pocket or going through their reads, that doesn't really go for our offense. That's not how this works. All of that is built into our system. So you can either have, in really most plays, the wide receiver that's going to be getting the football, they're tagged in that play. Okay. Now, sometimes there is a little bit of a read. So I would say probably about 85-ish% of the time, it's going to be, hey, you're either looking at, the top half of this field or the bottom half. That's what we're going to be working off of. And I don't know if this was a full field read or not, but all a full field read typically means in Tennessee's system is pre-snap. You look at both sides and then you just pick one. That's the side that you work off of. Now you can go through Tennessee's all of our passes since Coach Heupel's been here. You really won't see the quarterbacks going from one side of the field to the other side. They're going to be trying to get the football out of their hands quickly. And if they ever do go from one side to the other, that was them just making a play, or maybe it was kind of like built into it. Like you'll see sometimes quarterbacks maybe start off looking one way, then they sprint to the other side. But, the wide receivers that they're throwing the football to, that's already tagged. So I'm saying all that just to say that everything is built into our system. There's not real true reads. That's the biggest part of the problem. So on this play, Nico's going to choose the top half, okay? All right, and he's going to go to the wide receiver that's circled in yellow. Now, after you choose a side, what we're going to have are choice routes, and those routes are going to be different based off of the coverage that the defense is playing. So right here, this is an obvious cover 2. All right, so for some reason, I don't even know why this wide receiver would sit things down in that spot, but he's running kind of like an in or, maybe like a, comeback hitch, something like that. Maybe it's because that cornerback bluffed this blitz and that threw him off for just a taste, so that the one wide receiver that the quarterback is looking at is going to end up being covered up. But if it wasn't, like if the slot wide receiver down here at the bottom, if he's tagged, then he's going to be running a route to get open, and then the other wide receiver just runs a route for spacing. Okay, so again, just based off of what the coverage is, we'll just say if that safety is playing deep, then that slot, like what he's doing here, just sits it down. Okay, and same thing could be true vice versa, where if the outside wide receiver is tagged, then the inside guy is just running a route for spacing. Okay, like you're not really necessarily asked to throw the football to the guy that's making that spacing. You're asked to throw it to that one person. Now, if you see that the spacing guy does come open, you can hit him, but that's about as far as the reads go. It's like typically, at most 2 reads. So with all of that being understood, y'all can see the routes that these players end up running. Let's kind of like walk through this play and see why this is such a problem. So boom, okay. Quarterback's looking at the one side that we have tagged, or the one side that they're going to. And let me also point this out to say that I don't know exactly, if the wide receivers maybe did something wrong. I can't tell you all of that because I don't know exactly what their options were. But typically with the choice routes, it's not going to be that many options. There's only like 2 or 3 different options based off of, what the play is that's called, because they'll have one, like it could be called like wide choice or deep choice or middle choice or short choice. That's how this works. Okay. So the routes are kind of geared towards going to those areas. But either way, he's looking at his one option that's covered up. He has no other realistic options. Okay. If he comes back to his left side, that's just him doing extra. All right. That's all that is. Now, maybe the argument could be made that, hey, pre-snap, he could have made a different read. He should have tried to go to this bottom half. Well, we don't know that he had the freedom to do that on this play. That's the problem. But he does kind of look back to this side and what he's going to see. Keep in mind, everything's going really, really fast. So all he's seeing is flashes of jersey colors. So he sees that there's a flash of red underneath that wide receiver that's circled in blue. But then there's also a flash on the outside of that wide receiver. Can't make that throw. And then you can see it looks like the wide receiver in green could be popping open, but he sees a flash of red there as well. Either one of these passes are going to be very, very difficult. That's opposite hash, okay? He would have to come back over to this side of the field either way to, be able to make really either one of these passes. So that's what he's going to try to do here, all right? And if he was to try to throw it to that guy in green, that's like a 60-something yard pass that's got to be put in a very, very small window. That's an NFL throw. This is a redshirt freshman playing a quarterback. So now we saw him look to his right side, okay, and then he comes back and kind of like looks to his left because he's trying to move over there to buy some more time and maybe be able to do extra and find the other wide receivers to throw to. All right, and you can see that obviously he's got some red flashing here that's really close to him. Yes, there's 2 guys blocking it. But again, this is all happening fast. We're just pausing this. Like, we're stopping this. It's easy to talk about the stuff whenever you stop it and, like slow things down. But then also he can see that there's a flash of red that's beating one of his other blockers to the outside. So he really can't get outside there. He's going to go straight up the middle. And I think that at this point, his helmet had already been cracked. There's two linebackers there. There's a freaking killer at safety there. I mean, he's going straight into the fire. This is 2nd and 5. Okay, 2nd and 5. He almost gets us 5 yards. So that is how the offense is pretty much like, that's how it works, y'all. I know that that might sound crazy, but that's what the problem has been, is that we just have not had as many options with our really passing game or with our offense, period. It's been too basic. It's been too simple. And teams have figured out how to stop it, just like the Buckeyes do here, right? Like you show that cornerback blitz knowing that, okay, as soon as that wide receiver sees me flash past them on a blitz, they're going to sit it down automatically. And they're not going to be looking at me after that. Like you've ran past the corner and now he's out of your line of sight. So you're going to run this sit down, but then the cornerback comes back up under that. So you can do things like that. Teams also did a whole lot of 2 safeties deep, which we're seeing here. And, they also did a whole lot of like 4 guys playing deep. So like quarters coverage, forcing Tennessee to dink and dunk down the field. But now that we're adding more pro style elements to our system, we can operate off of this type of stuff. Plays can actually be dialed up where the quarterback has real reads. You go to your first read, that's not there, boom. Second read, that's not there, boom. Third read, okay. That's what you want to see out of these offenses, just because it gives them more options, okay? That's why we have been so stagnant. And to me, that's a more positive thing, because let's just keep it real, y'all. And actually, I'm gonna come back to these rankings here, and I'm gonna keep on scrolling through this for y'all. So again, this is from 24/7 Sports in 2024. But let's just keep it real, y'all. Okay, Nico and Joe Milton. Okay, those 2 guys might not have had the best numbers, but from a talent standpoint, there really isn't anyone on our team right now that has the type of talent that they had, except for GMAC, who's a freshman. We know that he won't be playing. So what does that tell you? Like, what does that mean? Well, it means that we need to change something within our scheme to give our quarterback more help, to make the offense more like user friendly, so they have more options, right? So it's not just stale and stagnant. And once things break down, you got to be a really good athlete, and you got to be able to use your legs to keep us from taking sacks or throwing picks, so on and so forth. And if you're not, then this offense does not have a chance. So that's why. And that's something that most people don't know about us. And I probably won't talk about it too much more, because I actually like it that way. I think that we're going to shock folks once we come out with these different wrinkles. They're going to say, wow, we had no idea that they could do this. And this offense is going to go back to being deadly. But those are my thoughts. Please share yours down in that comment section. And as always, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And we'll be talking to y'all probably tomorrow. Thanks. Peace. Thanks for watching, and please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, because that keeps us growing inside of the YouTube algorithm. And if you did like this video, here's another one that you might also enjoy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.